Yeehaw! What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of I Read a Bad Book on Purpose, and now I'm gonna make a video where I angrily talk about why it's bad. So, if you don't know, a couple weeks ago, and by a couple weeks ago, I mean several months at this point, I made a video where I talked about A Bad Boy for Christmas, which was a bad boy book set during Christmas. And in that video, I said that I was done with bad boys and that we were gonna stop caring about them. Bad boys have just been treating me and you wrong for too long now, and so I thought that we needed to find someone better for us. Okay? And so I was just thinking, like, ever since I abandoned bad boys, there has just been a hole, you know? And that hole needs to be filled. Not in a sexual way. So I found this book series, and it is called the Longhorn Canyon series. We got the first book in the series called Cowboy Bold, Cowboy Honor, Cowboy Brave, Cowboy Rebel, and then my personal favorite is Christmas with a Cowboy. Why is it that all of these weird romance books have like a Christmas spin-off? And if you're wondering if I plan on reading that for Christmas, the answer is absolutely freaking not. So the book that I read and the book that we will be talking about today is this book right here called Cowboy Rebel. Cowboy Rebel is written by Carolyn Brown, my girl. I love her. She's really great at writing. Cowboy Rebel is about a cowboy named Taggart Baker. Basically, this book follows a cowboy, and he is like a rugged man looking for love. And there is also this woman who doesn't want love. And then guess what happens? You probably won't be able to believe it, but they fall in love. So if you want to come with me on this journey, hop on your horse, do whatever cowboys do. Let's just freaking do it. I don't know. Our main cowboy in this book, his name is Taggart Baker. He's a pretty cool guy. He basically has like this motorcycle gang of like other cowboys, and we never actually are told like what they do or what they did. We just hear him talking about how like they're rebels, and more specifically how he is a cowboy rebel. This is conveyed very often in the dialogue that he is a cowboy rebel, with dialogue such as he is a cowboy and he is a rebel. So this book opens up, and the first line really just grabbed me by my throat. It says, "What can I get you, cowboy?" His name is Taggart Baker, and if your name is Taggart, I hate to say it, but that name's stupid. But I also noticed that all the bad boys I've ever read about, they all have like the best names ever. It's always something that's like believable, but also kind of weird and kind of just doesn't sound quite right. We got Donovan. I actually don't freaking remember. Donovan Pate. We got Connor McLean. And now we got Taggart Baker. It's just really upsetting. So our main man, Taggart, or Tag, he's at the bar. He's like doing what cowboys do, drinking whiskey. And that is when some random man comes up and he starts yelling. He says, "I knew I'd find you here." And so Tag assumes that this man is talking to him because everything is about him, obviously. And so Tag turns around real quick. He said, they all have a southern accent. "Hey now." Oh God. And then this guy says, "I ain't talking to you, so turn around and shut up. I'm talking to my woman down there." He pointed to the other end of the bar. "When she gets mad at me, she always shows up here." She's like, "No, you cheated on me." He says, "The lady says she's not going home with you." Should I read this entire book in a southern accent? I feel like if I'm gonna commit, I gotta commit. And I don't know if I'm ready for that type of commitment. Similar to the bad boy. Oh wait, he's not a bad boy. He's a cowboy. Yeehaw to that. "The lady said that she's not going home with you," Tag said. "It'd be wise if you just scooted on out of here." I feel like that word should have been skeet. After that, Scarlett, the woman that is so freaking irrelevant, Scarlett kicked the man in the knee about half a dozen times. So she said, that's how I assume that scene looks. And I am, in fact, picturing Scarlett Johansson. He went down like a big oak tree. "You bitch," he growled. I don't know how to growl. And whenever I read... Also, how come all of these books have that description? I read so many books and literally none of them ever have characters growl, but for some reason in these books, everybody is just out here, wild freaking animal. They got their tails out, they got their ears up, and they're growling. I just want you to know that whenever it says they growl, I imagine them go like, hey, you bitch. You. I think it's more like, you. Like, oh, I found it. You bitch. Like, that's Kermit saying it. Bottle slash right across Tag's chiseled jawline. He's just so sexy. The bouncer had brought out an equalizer in the form of a taser. A picture of David in the Bible came to Tag's mind as the man dropped to the floor and began to quiver. I can't imagine watching a man get tased and have him like actually freaking seizing on the ground and being like, wow, you know what that reminds me of? Not a freaking crime scene. This reminds me of David in the... Why would that remind him of David in the Bible? Literally all Tag did in this scene was he was like, hey, you probably shouldn't scream at that woman, and then he got caught in the face, and now he's like acting all stoic. He's like, that's right, like you didn't even freaking do anything. And so Scarlett Johansson, she said, you've killed my husband, he's got a bad heart, I'm gonna call the police. And then the big man, which is how he's been referred to all this time, no, don't do that, the cops, they'll haul me to jail for assaulting that cowboy, because he's a cowboy. Oh no, I forgot to read all of that in a southern accent. The cops will haul me into jail for assault on that cowboy. Hey Siri, how do you delete a video before you post it? Once a rebel, always a rebel. How did he rebel though? He didn't even do anything. What makes somebody a cowboy? I don't live in Texas, so I don't know the politics of this situation, but from my understanding, he's literally just wearing a cowboy hat. But Tag also owns a ranch. So is it the ranch that makes him a cowboy, or is the cowboy hat? If you're wondering if it matters, it doesn't. So now that Tag has been assaulted in his face, he is gonna go to the emergency room, and this is where we meet our woman. Her name is Nikki. She is a nurse, so she's gonna stitch up his little sexy freaking face. She's like a family friend of Tag's family, which consists of many men that I don't remember their names. But Nikki sees Tag in the emergency room and she says, with that chiseled face, those piercing blue eyes, a cowboy swagger, and a smile, that would make a religious woman want to drink whiskey and do the two-step. Like, what the actual frig? Nikki does not want to date Tag because he's just so bad and he does all of this hooligan activity. If you're wondering what those activities are, I still do not know. Nikki is described as like this really thin, pale, ginger girl who oftentimes wears jeans and flip-flops. And this is completely unrelated, but I want you to know that I am in fact picturing Nicki Minaj. So Nikki like stitches up his face, and then afterwards Tag goes to like the bar or like a restaurant with his twin brother, and his name is Hood. Okay. It would be rude not to sit with them. They were, after all, her best friend's brothers. Wait. Emily, the woman, that's their sister? I literally thought that she was dating one of them. How's the jaw? Nikki said. Sore as the devil, but it'll get well. Maybe you'll take pity on a poor old hungry dog and go out with him. Tag cocked his head to one side and whimpered like a puppy. So, he says, date me. Home. What did that have to do with the conversation? That's what I'm thinking. In bad boy fashion, Connor, that's not his freaking, that's the other bad boy. What the heck? So in cowboy bad boy fashion, what is his name? In cowboy bad boy fashion, Tag is begging this woman to date him. Why is it so important for me to go out with you anyway? Nikki asked. Because he's never been rejected, not one time in his whole life. He grabbed her hand, brought her knuckles to his lips, and kissed each one. Date me. Like, what the frig? I don't friggin' think so. If you're wondering the significance of that scene, I still don't know. She's fun, and I like her. That can't be right. She's fun, and I like her sass. I really was nervous there for a hot minute. Nikki is one of them good girls who someone with my background don't have the right to. If you're wondering what that background includes, he decides he's no longer gonna hang out with his hooligan friends and he's gonna start pursuing this woman, even though she continuously says no, which is hot. Why, oh why does she always have to be attracted to the wrong cowboy? Hud was a sweetheart, funny, kind, and almost as sexy as Tag. Hud is literally his twin freaking brother. Almost, she thought, only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. Wait, what does that mean? Horseshoes and hand grenades? Maybe this is just part of Texas culture. Maybe this is a frequent thing that, like, sometimes you want to date a man who is a twin of another man who is a cowboy, and they look the same, but one of them's sexier because he's bad, and he's almost as sexy as him, but not quite, and that only applies in horseshoes and hand grenades. A weird thing about this book is that they are obviously like in charge of this ranch because they're cowboys. And so they frequently will mention like the ranch and like they're working on the ranch. Right here it says, "Ranchin' ain't for sissies," Levi chuckled. I don't know who Levi is. He might be a brother. He might just be some random freaking guy. But it gets into the blood and nothing else satisfies the cowboy. But like, what do you guys do on the ranch? Taking care of horses? Are they like moving hay? The bad boy on the cover, he's got a saddle. So does he ride horses? What do the cowboys of the world do? And whenever they mention working on the ranch, they're just like, it's so hard on that ranch. And I'm a cowboy, so I do that work. They're just like, we're moving hay. For what? Are there horses that are gonna eat the hay? Do you ship the hay off? Where did the hay come from? This is why I don't read anymore, because I just agonize over one sentence. I'd have to change my ways. You can't teach an old dog like me new tricks. Especially when that means changing their whole lifestyle. Lifestyle of what? I'm under the impression that he actually murdered someone. Is the theme of this book literally change who you are because somebody turned you down? Nikki was sitting out there on a park bench eating a snow cone. What color was the snow cone? We never find out. But another song on the radio caught his attention and he stopped to listen to Vince Gill sing "Whenever You Come Around." That's something that this book does a lot, where they will just say like some obscure reference to like a country song or a country singer. And I feel like if I was like a 45-year-old Texan woman, I'd be like, hell yeah, I know who he is, Vince Gill. But instead, it just kind of comes across as like really weird and uncomfortable. I've never listened to this song, but I think it's freaking time. Let's do it. Whenever you come around. Vince Gill. Oh, I misspelled every word. Tag is just sitting in his car and he is just like, she's eating that snow cone, man. What the hell? So he decides, I should probably stop sketchily watching this woman out my car window while listening to this sad song. So he gets out and he goes up to her and it says, she wiped sweat from her forehead with her backhand. She said, whew, oh no, my hair is exposed for being freaking ugly. Hot, ain't it? It's Texas. We have 4 seasons. Hot, hotter, hottest, and hot as hell. Get it? I love humor. What in the world are you doing here, Tag? Well, I was just in my truck listening to sad romantic song and watching you eat snow cone as you sat in the middle of a park by yourself for no reason in particular. And I was crying as I was listening to that song, and now I came to talk to you. That wasn't the actual dialogue of the book, but why is it freaking dark out? It's a long story, but the truth is, a song came on the radio that brought back some tough memories of something that we do not know. I couldn't drive with tears in my eyes, he said. And so then Nikki says, did the tears burn when they reached your stitches? Little bit. Impeccable. What was the song, she asked. Vince was singing, Go Rest High on That Mountain. Wait, that wasn't the song he just said he was listening to? So apparently, Homeboy changed the station in the middle of that song. A lump the size of a grapefruit, which I don't think was supposed to be sexual, but I can't help but feel like it is. But then again, they are talking about sad stuff, so maybe not. The lump the size of a grapefruit formed in her throat. They played that song at Quint's funeral. Nikki's backstory is essentially the fact that her younger brother died suddenly in some sort of an accident, and then after the funeral, her father was like, LOL to that, and he left. So we don't really know why, but he just was like, you know what? He was my favorite child anyway, so I'm just gonna peace out. So she says they played the song Go Rest High on That Mountain at his funeral. Let's take a listen. Yeah, 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 yeah. Go rest high on the mountain. Go rest high on the mountain. I'm crying in my truck. My brother died and he's a baby. Oh no, where'd my dad go? Why would he do that? We don't know. We don't know. Now there's a cowboy. And he wants to date me. Go rest high. Anyways, guys, it's been about 10 to 20 pages since Nikki turned him down, so it's time for Tag to whip out his conveniently timed backstory. I've never told anyone this before. Don't know why I'm doing it now. Guess after all these years, I just gotta get it off my chest. Which is very muscular, by the way, just in case you were wondering. My friend Duke and I were riding our cycles out on the dirt road and being reckless. That's when we saw the other guys. And then she's like, did the cops catch you? But like, what were they doing? They were literally just riding their bikes on some dirt roads. Why would the cop... Is that the hooligan activities? You can't get arrested for like riding a dirt bike. We didn't know about the big tree limb that had fallen over the road to the old cabin. Since the last time we were there, the first 5 split and went around it. But Duke never even saw it coming. Tag removed his sunglasses. My tire was about 6 inches from that tree when I came to stop. Billy, Tom, and the others didn't even know Duke was hurt. I called 911 and held him in my arms until we got there, but he breathed his last on my way to the hospital. They played Vince's Gill's song at his funeral. Every time I hear it, I cry. What the frick? So basically, they were dirt biking late at night when hooligans came over and said, hey, hooligan with us. And then they're like, okay, that sounds like a good idea. So they went, but a tree branch was on the ground. And so Tag's best friend, Duke... I hate to laugh, but his best friend Duke just was like going so freaking fast. He was like, nee, and then he went, boom, and he flew off. It doesn't say how far he flew, but in my head, for some reason, I'm imagining this man is off. His limp body is just going, and he flies to his death. So not only is this backstory conveniently timed to the point where it's kind of uncomfortable because she's literally like, I don't want to date you, you're a terrible person. And then afterwards he's like, but guess what? I'm terrible because I'm sad. But like, guess what, idiot? I'm sad and I'm only terrible like sometimes, you know? Tag glared at his reflection in the bathroom mirror. Stitches were still there. A blatant reminder that he wasn't gonna ride a bull or bronc that night at the rodeo. His life is so hard. I can't remember the last time you had to sit in the stands at a rodeo. Me neither, and I don't like it, Tag growled. How do you growl with a southern accent? Me neither, and I don't like it. I'm really getting the hang of it. Hell yeah. So they're at the ranch and they're talking about the bull that they will be riding at the rodeo, as cowboys do. What's this about Fu Manchu? Don't think I've ever heard of that bull. 2.7 seconds and a bull named Fu Manchu. It's part of a song from years ago that Tim McGraw sang about living like you were dying. Is the name Fu Manchu racist? Or is it racist that I think it's racist? Anyway, so after this, we get another reminder that he's really sexy, just in case you forgot. After the rodeo, guess what happens, y'all? They decide, you know what? I know now that you're sad. And even though, like, literally, like, a page ago, she said she didn't want to go out with him for the 4th time, It's time to kiss. Her lips on his had stirred something inside of her that she thought had died years ago. The feeling of the feeling of hope in life. Not only was she so sad that her father left and her brother died, but she was supposedly like gonna maybe kill herself, and now this cowboy's lips just saved her entire life. Tag turned the radio on louder. His thumbs kept time on the steering wheel as he listened to BB Rexa singing Meant to Be. And so he goes inside of his house and he's like sitting there, and there is his brother Hood, his twin brother. And they start to talk about like the future and stuff. Guess we're really putting down roots, aren't we? It's time, Hood says. And this is so amazing. He says, what's meant to be will be, and what's not meant to be will be anyways. It's really subtle, right? Like, do you think that BB Rexa, like, really spoke to him in that moment? Like, he was in his pickup truck. If it's meant to be, it'll be, it'll be. And then he was sitting and Hud was talking about the future, and he was like, you know what? If it's meant to be, it will be. I'm not here to be overly dramatic. Oh my gosh. It appears that the last 100 pages of this book just fell out. They were useless anyways. So after this, we have another scene where they get intimate. You know what I'm saying? The tip of his tongue touched her lips. I understand that this is supposed to be sexy, but in my head he's like... When she turned the key to start the engine, the radio was on and the Pistol Annies were singing, I Feel a Sin Coming On. It seemed like every single word had been written just for her that evening, especially when Miranda Lambert said that she had a shiver all the way down to the bone. I got a shiver down to the bone. Yes, I do in fact feel a shiver down to the bone. In our part of the world, we don't hide our crazy relatives. We put them on the front porch with a glass of sweet tea and let them wave at all the cars that go by. She giggled, and then laughed, and then snorted. So she said, hee hee, hoo hoo. I'm picturing my mother on the porch with one of those beekeeper hats on her head. His laughter was as deep as his drawl. Why a bee bonnet? Why did that sound like Goofy? So, for some reason, Tag decides that he is just going to unpromptedly buy a goldfish and give it to Nikki. This is your new pet. She could stay all by herself over the weekend. You don't have to clean up after her. She told me that country music is her favorite, so you might want to leave the radio on while you're gone so it don't get lonesome. This goldfish has more personality than the cowboy does. But how do you know it's a girl? Well, I mean, vagina, right? I don't know. So we are now 100 pages into this book, and so I just want to take a quick moment to stop, and I want you to think to yourself, name one plot point. Because I'm trying to think, and nothing really comes to friggin' mind. There really hasn't been any plot, and normally when I do these videos, there will be like a main plot point, and I'll normally follow the relevant details and leave out the things that don't matter. But the weird thing for this book is, literally it's just like a jumble of scenes, and normally the scenes don't have anything to do with each other. Nikki and Tag are on like a date at like a restaurant, and that's when the hooligans show up. 5 bikers with dusty jeans headed straight for them. Well, look at what we found, boys. Pretty little lady and an ugly old cowboy, because he's a cowboy. Let's whoop his ass and show her what real men are. Nikki's blood ran cold as she slowly unzipped the side pocket of her purse and brought out a pink pistol. She aimed it at his chest. Boys, I only got 5 shots, and I think I can take 2 of you out with 1 bullet so I don't waste ammunition. Now get your sorry asses out. My issue isn't even the fact that they're in a public restaurant and she openly just whipped out a gun and shoved it in a guy's friggin' face. My main problem is like, who has a pink pistol? What are you doing, Billy Tom? Which is my favorite character in this entire book. You'll see why in a hot minute. But he's just like, in my head, like this balding guy with like no hair on top, but like long, like gross, like Yoda hair on the sides. And then Billy Tom is like, why don't you hang out with us anymore? And then he's like, cause I can't. I'm not a rebel cowboy anymore. Was fate telling her that Billy Tom was right? Once a rebel, always a rebel? A Cowboy Rebel by Carolyn Brown. He hasn't even done anything at all in this book besides say that he's a rebel. Why don't we know what he did? And if we do know what he did, that's embarrassing on my part because I probably skimmed over it. So now we have a literal scene where they go to freaking Bible study. Nikki and Tag are at this freaking Bible study, and for some reason, at this point we are like over 100 pages in, and based on the other bad boy books I've read, I was like, this is normally when they start to hook up. So I was ready. I was like, we're at Bible study, and then they're like, oh, come help me make this Southern food, and then they go to get the Southern food, and then he's like, there is no Southern food. The only thing you'll be eating is my pee-pee. And then they like have sex. But no, we have a scene, and they go to Bible study, and then they're like, we're at Bible study. Like, for the first time ever, I'm reading this, and I want him to choke her so freaking bad. I want him to spit on her. And so she says that she's sad, and then in my head I'm like, you know what time it is? It's time for her to cry, and then they have sex while she's crying. But no, Tag scooted toward her, laid his fishing pole down because they were fishing, because they're Southern and he's a cowboy, and cupped her face. His lips found hers in a sweet kiss of understanding and appreciation. And then that's the end of the chapter. Now listen, okay, I feel like this is everything I've ever wanted. Like, I do these videos and I'll be like, he's not respecting her, or like, that's a really weird time to have sex, that's uncomfortable, right? He's like actually working on bettering himself. She's like trusting him, and they're sharing moments, and they're communicating, and they're respecting each other. But you know what? This freaking sucks. I want him to spit on her. I want him to like describe her like butthole. This is literally just a bad boy book, but if you took out all the funny stuff, and guess what? We don't even get a single description of his peen. After hearing her story, Tag realized what a safe and love-filled environment he'd had the privilege of growing up in. I don't want to read it anymore. I want him to spit on her and say that she's a hoe and that he'll never love her. I want him to say, you're fat. And then she cries. And then that is when they bang. And then I say, ew, that's gross and not okay. One day I'll be hearing about his peen. Part of that. I feel like I could have ended the video there, but I honestly have another 200 pages of bullshit. All of a sudden, Nikki gets kidnapped. So she's leaving Tag's place or something, and that's when we see Billy Tom, my guy, and he just starts saying a bunch of bullcrap. He says, if you make a sound or try to warn someone, you are dead. A hostage will come in real handy. Besides, it's been a while since I had a woman to keep my bed warm at night. So basically, Billy Tom is like upset that like Tag doesn't want to hang out anymore. So he's like, you know what I gotta do? I gotta kidnap his girlfriend / friend / they kissed like twice 50 pages ago. I love Billy Tom so much because you can tell that the author just tried to make him like impossibly evil, but like she didn't know how to do that subtly, so just all of his dialogue is like, I'll kill you because I'm evil, you know? He has to like go to the bathroom or something. So he says, we'll go to the bathroom while we're here. If you crawl out a window or run while I'm in the men's room, when I come out, I'll shoot everyone in this place. That's a promise, not a threat. So he's literally like, okay, girl, a boy gotta pee. The clerk woman is like, can I help you? And they mention the fact that she's pregnant. And then Nikki says, just need to use the restrooms and get some food, Nikki said sweetly. Billy Tom says, that's good. Real good. Be a shame for a mama and baby both to die today. I love him so much. But I guess what I was trying to figure out is like, what is Billy Tom's plan? It kind of seems like his plan is kidnap Nikki and then wait for Tag to show up so then he can kill Nikki. But like, why not just break into the house and kill her? Billy Tom, which is an incredible freaking name, by the way, he kidnapped her but never took her freaking phone. Hello? Would you... And then it's like in italics for some reason. I'll tell you when to make turns. You just obey me like a good little woman until we get there. Then maybe I'll show you what a real rebel is. Because I'm a rebel cowboy. By Carolyn Brown. That's Billy Tom's voice. He's got Nikki. I can almost guarantee it. And I know where they're headed. How does he know where they're headed? Because I was literally reading the opposite side of the POV. And I don't even know where they're going. And neither does Nikki. Supposedly Billy Tom doesn't even know where they're going. Billy Tom sat straight up in the back seat and growled. So he's just sitting there. He said, as you do. I'll tell you where. And honey, no cutting and running. I'm a damn good shot and you can't run as fast as the bullet. He is so awesome. He is just so evil and he don't care. I might get that tattooed on me. It's like right here. No running. No cutting. I didn't mean to expose my pale freaking body there, but whatever. Anyways, guess who decided to show up? It's, Taggart. Nikki got out of the car and caught a movement in her peripheral vision. Maybe it's a rat. Then Tag walked out from behind a fallen down log right in front of her. At first, Nikki thought she was seeing things or dreaming. Or maybe Billy Tom put a silencer on the gun. And she was dead. I think you have something that's mine. Tag didn't even look at her. I want it back. How romantic. You can have her for $10,000, Billy Tom said. He's literally like, you know what? I know that I was gonna actually murder both of you out here. But if you just give me like a lot of money, I'd give everything I've got for her. But that's not the issue here. Tag's gaze went back to Billy Tom. You are surrounded by men from the Swisher County Sheriff's Department. Did I ever tell you that my brother Matthew is a volunteer deputy? No, you didn't. But it seems awfully convenient that now's the time that we find out about that. Billy Tom fell to his knees and put his hands up. Nikki picked up the gun and used the butt. Hit him square in the eyes. And then Tag says, you can stay at my folks' ranch. And so I'm like, okay, we're over halfway through this book. So I'm like, they're gonna hook up now. Then she said, no thanks, I'd rather stay in a motel. And that's the end of the scene. I thought that the kidnapping was going to serve as like a means to get them together. But they literally, like, she gets kidnapped and then it just like ends. Tag and Nikki go to the gas station and they're like looking at snacks or something, and then he's got a gun, the clerk whispered. Tag dropped his wallet on the counter and headed towards Nikki, but didn't get there before she had kicked off her flip-flops with her jeans and landed a square kick in Billy Tom's crotch. She picked up a gallon of motor oil from a display and swung it like a Louisville Slugger. When it made contact with the side of his head, he fell backwards, taking out a stand of Twinkies on the way down. Did you kill him? Tag asked. I wouldn't be so lucky. So hang on a second. It's telling me that Billy Tom 20 pages ago got arrested and supposedly they've been looking for him for 20 years. And then he escaped prison. I guess the only thing I'm thinking about at this point is like, whatever happened to Nikki's fish? From now on, there will be protection at your fingertips because she has a gun. She giggled nervously. Why is that funny? I'm on the pill. She kicked off her flip-flops and headed to the bathroom. I don't need your protection. You are a lesson in confusion, woman. 1 minute you're thinking bombs, and the next condoms. And so then, like 2 paragraphs later, it says, she slung open the door and announced, and I was like, she's gonna say, do me. She said, Tag, I want to find my father. Freaking missed opportunities where they could have banged. Or bung, would it be? Tag came in 4th place with the bronc riding that evening, sitting on a sawhorse right outside Fu Manchu's pen, trying to get to know the bull. How's it going? Tell me what your hobbies are. And the bull is like, I'm a bull. If I can make it for 2.7 seconds like that song says, I'll have accomplished something. Tag really did pop off to that song. The bull pawed at the ground and snorted. I love how authors describe animals, because this bull is like, and they continued to stare at each other for the next hour. So Fu Manchu is like, he played Live Like You Were Dying and the crowd went wild, stomping and singing along, screaming even louder when Fu Manchu was mentioned in the song. The crowd be like, I missed you, he said. She took 2 steps, and his arms wrapped around her. Rolling up to her toes, she cupped his face in her hands and brought his lips to hers. One kiss led to another, going from a sweet brush of the lips to something deeper and deeper, until they were both panting. His hand slipped under her shirt up to her bra, and in one swift motion it was undone. Ooh, and he began to massage her back. Oh. Jesus Christ. We either need to stop this or take it to the bed. Wrapping her legs around his waist, she reached between them and gasped when she realized how ready he was. Me too, what the frick. On that miraculous night, he brought her to heights she'd never known, taking her right to the edge of climax and then backing off until he said her name in a growl. And that was the end of the scene. You're telling me that this freaking book has one sex scene, and it's a freaking 3rd book in a young adult trilogy sex scene where it like fades to black? That comes from Live Like You Were Dying, a song he's lived by since he was a teenager. Did you stay 2.7 seconds on a bull named Fu Manchu? 6.7 seconds, Tag answered. Been fishing? Yeah. Then all that's left is skydiving. Sounds like fun. And so then you think like, oh, they're gonna like go skydiving, it's gonna be a cute date. But then they never even freaking do. And why is he like obsessed with that song? It's not even that good. He pulled her lips to his for a more passionate, lingering kiss. I love you, Nikki. She blinked several times. He'd never told a woman that before. So perhaps it was normal for them not to answer and then leave the room immediately. He says, I love you. And then she's like, I'm out. I'm freaking out. She got the peen. Unfortunately, we freaking didn't. And she's out. Straight up, she said, you know what? I got what I wanted. I like it better when you come to bed naked, he said. Tonight we'd better sleep in clothing. The music to Live Like You Were Dying started playing. When it got to the chorus, she sang about going fishing and riding a bull named Fu Manchu. How many times do I gotta hear about that goddamn bull? Tag laughed out loud. Funny. Have I told you today what a lucky cowboy I am? No, but don't ever forget it, she said. You wanna know what she freaking said? She said, I love my rebel cowboy. First of all, roll credits. Second of all, that is just so disheartening. That is like actually like there is literally no hope. And the last line of the book is, I'll always be your bedroom rebel. Tag pulled her face to his and sealed the promise with a kiss. He's not even a rebel. I just can't help but think about the 45-year-old woman out there somewhere, and she is in a marriage, and she is not having a great time, and she is not fulfilled, and she's trying to get freaking lit with this book, and she read it, and she gets nothing. You know what she gets? She gets B-plot. When I read other bad boy books, I get the vibe that the author is like sexually liberated, like 45-year-old woman, and I don't have an issue with that. I get the vibe more of like Christian Southern grandma fanficking about her daughter marrying a respectable cowboy, which is like fine. Do I want to read about it? No. And here's the thing, right? And this is going to be weird to say based on all of the other videos I've ever made. Now I know what it feels like to be the target demographic of these books, right? Because I've read a couple of books by Jessica Lemon. In those videos, I always say at the end that like I understand why people like these, and I'm not, you know, just out here trying to shamelessly rip on an entire genre of books, because that's not why I'm here. I understand why people like them. But the thing is, they're still like enjoyable to read. Like I can read those in like a couple days. This book took me, I literally don't even know where the book went because it's like actually in several pieces at this point. This book took me like several weeks to read, where in the other books, the characters are stupid, but fun stupid, where it's like, oh my gosh, she just said this cringy thing about his butthole or something. Or like there's awkward, cringy sex scenes that we can laugh at and funny lines of dialogue that we can go through. There's still stuff that make it an enjoyable experience. But here there is none of that. And for some reason I decided to announce this on Instagram. And so now people have been like messaging me being like, where's the freaking video? And it's been like a month and I'm still reading it because it's awful. And also it's midterms. And also I'm freaking sad all the time for no reason in particular. I feel like I understand more what it's like to be the target demographic of this type of book because I went into this wanting the sexy stuff. I wanted the stupid characters. I wanted it so bad. I feel like I wanted it maybe with malintent, and the fact that I never got it is actually devastating. Also, I do feel the unfortunate need to preface this and say, although throughout this video I was actively rooting for the man to abuse the woman, that was in fact a joke. I always ask for a romance where they're like equal partners and they respect each other and don't view each other as sex objects, and I just thought it was funny the fact that I actively got that and it actively sucked says a lot. But yeah, I guess I just had an issue with everything in this book because the plot was irrelevant. The scenes never really had anything to do with each other. I have the same issue with this book that I have the other bad boy books I've read, because there are tons of different side characters that mean absolutely nothing to this story at all, but they will be included because there's like 8 other cowboy spin-off romance books, and I assume that those random men are the cowboys in those books. And as I've said a couple of times, there are so many obscure references that never really mean anything at all, where it just feels like the author being like, see, I know yeehaw stuff, and you're like, you really don't, girl. Like, I'm not doubting the fact that you probably make sweet tea on the weekends for your grandkids, but what I am doubting is the fact that you're like listening to BB Rexa. Those are my thoughts on Cowboy Rebel. Friggin' suck. It's a New York Times bestseller. Oh wait, no it's not. But Carolyn Brown is a New York Times bestselling author, so good for her, I guess. It really breaks the glass ceiling for people who are not good at writing, hitting the New York Times bestseller list. The back of this book literally says, a wild cowboy with a big heart. But like, I wish it was a big peen.